America is on the brink of explosion. Cities are boiling and American streets are turning into volcanoes, spewing fire in every direction from New York to Chicago, from Texas to California. Voices of anger rise like a storm, smashing bank facades, setting police cars on fire, and filling the squares with smoke and chants. Soldiers are in the streets, curfews collapse before unstoppable crowds, and stunned news outlets try in vain to understand what is happening. America today does not look like a state, but like an internal battlefield where generations clash and the system cracks from within. Politicians are in disarray, and Donald Trump emerges from the shadows, responding sarcastically in a video posted on his platform Truth Social that only fanned the flames further. Has Washington really lost control of its people? Or is what we see only the opening scene in Trump's return to the storm? On a gray, cold October morning, New York was the first city from which the spark ignited. Tens of thousands gathered in the heart of Times Square. Crowds poured in from side streets like a river of people carrying placards and waving flags as if they were documents of a new Declaration of Independence. "The Constitution is not wall decor," read one sign, while another raised the slogan, "Democracy, not dictatorship." Police estimated participants at more than 100,000 in New York alone, but organizers spoke of 7 million protesters across the country, from Seattle in the west to Miami in the south, in more than 2,700 locations. Satellite images show huge human patches filling the squares, and media outlets describe the largest protest America has seen in its recent history. The protest came under the banner of the No Kings in America movement, which says that President Trump is trying to reshape the political system to concentrate more power in his hands. Their slogan is summed up in one line: "We are not subjects, we are citizens." In Los Angeles, the march extended along Sunset Boulevard. In Washington, the capital, thousands gathered near the Lincoln Memorial, waving flags that read, "Stop the crowning." A protester shouted through a loudspeaker, "Our ancestors fought King George for freedom. We will not allow a new king named Trump." The chants rose. Surprisingly, the scene was not as violent as some had feared. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that demonstrations remained peaceful in most states despite the mobilization of National Guard forces in Texas, Virginia, and several other states as a precaution. In the background was a controversial bill in California, Proposition 50, which seeks to redraw electoral districts in a way that reduces the influence of party blocs. Many protesters chanted "No Kings" and yes to Proposition 50, viewing it as a step toward rebalancing popular representation, while opponents saw it as further politicization of the street. Local media described the events as a manifestation of American anger. Social media platforms filled with images, placards, and videos from different states. A huge human banner on San Francisco's shore, thousands of bodies shouting "No Kings," and buskers in the midst of the crowd playing the national anthem amid waves of applause. But the most provocative scene was in the virtual world. President Trump, known for his bold media presence, posted an AI-generated video on Truth Social showing him sitting on a golden throne in front of the White House wearing a shiny crown while crowds chanted his name. In a later moment, a warplane labeled King Trump takes off and drops brownish projectiles on crowds of virtual protesters. The video ignited a storm of controversy. Some called it inventive political satire, others an insult to millions of Americans. Major news sites picked up the story within minutes. CNN described the video as a scathing mockery of the protests, while the New York Times called it a symbolic sign of a dangerous split in American discourse. Trump did not seem to take the matter too seriously. In an interview with Fox News that same evening, he said, "They say I'm claiming to be a king. I am not a king, but I certainly do not fear them." As protests expanded, voices rose within both the Republican and Democratic parties about the future of American democracy. Senator Bernie Sanders went out to address the crowds in Washington, saying, "This is not a demonstration against a person, but against the idea that a president can be above the people." Trump's allies in the Republican Party, however, accused the movement of being backed by extreme leftist forces, with some even calling it an extension of the anti-capitalist Antifa movement. American media itself was divided. Conservative channels spoke of an organized conspiracy to discredit the president, while liberal channels saw the protests as a reminder that democracy is not granted but seized. Foreign press described the scene as a symbolic revolution that revives the spirit of 1776, referring to the American Revolution against British monarchy. By nightfall, skyscrapers in New York and Los Angeles were lit with electronic slogans carrying the same message: Democracy lives here. Notably, the demonstrations were not limited to the United States. Small solidarity protests broke out in Berlin, Madrid, and Rome, where participants expressed support for the American people against tyranny. Even in Canada and Mexico, activists organized symbolic vigils in front of American embassies. Dr. Mark Vilder of Harvard University told Reuters that we are witnessing a pivotal moment. The protests are not only against Trump, but against the notion that democracy can be run by a single person. Supporters of the president argue that the demonstrations aim to delegitimize election results, and that the American left is using the streets as a political weapon. Although the day ended without major riots, the echoes of "No Kings" continued to reverberate inside the United States, with some observers calling it the largest popular movement since the 1960s. At the end of the long day, the streets of major cities still buzzed with noise. America, long seen as a model of democracy, now faces a painful question: who governs whom? An insistently denying president claiming he is not a king, and millions rejecting the idea of symbolic crowning. The United States is writing a new chapter in its endless struggle between authority and liberty. The video Trump posted may be removed from platforms in a few days, but the image of him wearing a crown will remain in protesters' memories for a long time, just as the "No Kings" placards will stay in the minds of Americans who fear seeing in their country what they once fought against in the world. America does not need palaces or crowns to feel shaken. Today's battle is not over a throne, but over the very soul of democracy itself. Between the noisy squares and the quiet White House lies a short distance on the map, but a vast one in meaning. The distance between ruler and ruled, between anger and authority, between no kings and King Trump.